Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Very good evening. We are around 6 of us right now. So we'll wait for a minute or so, and by then we can at least, go back to the last class. What was the topic? I hope you remember.
To develop a training program.
So considering that many of you are already seasoned trainers and you are into some kind of presentation and program conduction, did you find it useful? Did it make some sense to you, all of you? You found it useful?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
Thank you. So if I may ask, the topic of discussion today, I hope you all know, is facilitation skills. So what do you really understand by this word facilitation skill?
Ma'am, to facilitate the thought process or the or in any organization where we are working.
Okay. So again, do we really need any, especially a topic, full topic as a full session? Do we require any session like this? Do you think that we are devoting 2 hours to this topic? So does this topic really deserve this much of attention?
Yes.
You all agree? You all think so? Oh.
Yes. Yes.
And if you're taking this 2 hours, that means it is very important, ma'am.
See, one reason, because it's a master trainer program. So we are hoping that everybody who will attend this program will be not only thorough with the content, but would also be, good at facilitating the program. So as I discussed in the last session also, that ultimately when you deliver a session, content we all can get from here and there. And we all know slides are available, material is available. But when it comes to conducting a program, not all of us are that effective. We have seen people sleeping, in programs where the program is not engaging, not interesting. So what exactly do they do? Or what is the recipe of facilitating a program that really engages everybody and also is very impactful? Probably that's the idea why we are covering this as one of the topic of the discussion out of 10 sessions that we are devoting to this program. So why do we call it facilitation, and why not a teaching program or training program? We are saying facilitation skills. Why?
To facilitate, I think it means, to guide more. So when we do a training program and we deliver, we have all the content, so we are imparting that information. But I think facilitating means to guide and support our audience or whomever we are addressing also to be a part of the session and to get a lot of it has to be an interactive and an engaging one.
Okay, thank you. I think, Rashmi, you did try to talk about the aspects of facilitation. Thank you so much for that answer. If I may ask others to share their thoughts. Yes, Padma, please go ahead. Yeah.
Audience always have different kinds. Like few people are visual thinkers, few people are audio thinkers, few people are kinesthetic thinkers. They will connect with different kind of methodologies. So facilitation is nothing but make them understand the concept, and they should understand the context of the particular thing into their own way. So we have to facilitate in such a way that all kind of audience should be understood what really want to convey in that particular session or the meeting.
Thank you, Padma. I think that's another perspective that you added to the discussion. Anybody else who would like to say, why do we call it facilitation skill? Why don't we call it training skills or teaching skills? We are specifically saying facilitation skills. So is there a reason?
Ma'am, I think
yes, Dr. Farhan.
it is to make easier for the audience to understand the things,
Mhm.
so that it is interesting to them and they get the full benefit of it.
Mhm.
So we have to make it easy and understandable.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Dr. Kapoor, please go ahead.
But my understanding of felicitation is ultimately when we do need assessment, we come to know what the expectations.
Mhm.
And facilitation is to meet those expectations of them. We facilitate the session, we facilitate them so that they come out and give us their feedback, their understanding of the things. We really facilitate them to come out rather than we are trying to tell them anything. We really want to know what are their issues, what are their viewpoints, and then facilitate them slowly over the things so that we reach the outcomes. That's what my understanding is.
Agreed, agreed, fully agreed. So my understanding of facilitation skill is that in our programs, we are dealing with adult audience. We are dealing with mostly educated professionals. And in any case, we all know you cannot actually make people learn, but you can facilitate their learning in case if you know how to deliver your content, how to put across the material or the message. And if they get interested, they engage, and that's what will facilitate their learning. This is what is my understanding. I'm not looking at the definition, but I'm just sharing my thoughts about facilitation. And therefore, I felt that each one of us should know how do you really facilitate learning and facilitate delivery of your message, because we all have a message to give, but we need to be really impactful in doing that. So how do we really make that happen? So Dr. Ravi has written, it refers to additional features we can add to make our presentation better. Absolutely. So I think we are trying to make sure that the facilitation is so impactful that it really engages and also make the audience participate. So today's session, we are going to devote to understand what these facilitation skills are. That's one thing. As a facilitator, what qualities will help me and what can be a hindrance to my delivery? Also, how do you really make sure that the program is power packed, and where do you put a lot of emphasis during your program? What are the different pedagogies that you can integrate? So from today's session onwards, I would request you to note down the different pedagogies I will be using in my delivery in the program. And maybe at the end of this session, each one of us can give our, observation. Okay, we tried this pedagogy, we tried this pedagogy, we tried this, so that we all now start focusing on what all can be integrated in the program or in the session to make the session interesting, enjoyable, and learning, full of learning. And then also, because you're not a teacher, I'm not a teacher here. I'm a facilitator because maybe I have some subject knowledge which you already have with you. Maybe I'll put it in such a manner that it will make sense to all of us. Okay, this makes sense. And that's all. So your things are more organized in your own mind. So that's the whole idea about it. And then, of course, one of the major challenges we all experience, I'm sure you all must have experienced, I myself have experienced a lot of time when you come across a disruptive, audience. People who don't speak, people who speak a lot, people who speak nonsense, people who don't let others speak, and whatnot. So, and we have seen people using phone when they are in the program, doing their writing work while being there. In online sessions, we have seen people refuse to have their cameras on. They will not have their right name. They will not answer, especially if you have a large audience. I'm sure all of you may have seen this. So we are going to talk at length about that part also. That's going to be probably a very interesting and enjoyable learning for all of you. If I may share my experience with all of you, I have been into training for good 30, 35 years. when I started my sessions with the government hospitals, and we know the state of affairs in the government hospitals, sometimes you come across audience who are already very, very, upset with the way the whole system is functioning. So they try to, kind of take that opportunity and kind of dominate the discussion, or they may actually even sometimes derail your program. So I have had a couple of such experiences where some of the audience they were member of the doctors association, residents association. So they made full use of the opportunity and tried to hijack the whole session. That was a very big learning for me, and I said I have to learn how do you handle such situations. And that was the time I decided to do my train the trainer program with Dale Carnegie. I think I shared with you that it was I think 3 or 5 days program from morning 8 to 6 o'clock. Our trainer worked with us on different, situations where you come across people who would try to hijack your session. They may disrupt you, and how do you really handle that? That was a very big learning for me. After that, I attended a couple of other programs also to learn how do you make your program interesting, enjoyable, engaging. That's what I'm going to share with all of you. And I'm sure you all also have rich experience. So it will be a very interesting, session. Before I go forward, I want to actually, use a quiz to help you see the different situations. And let's see how many of us are able to make the right guess about how do you handle such situation. So let me share the screen and show you a quiz questionnaire. Just 1 second. Okay. So I hope all of you can see the questionnaire. Is it visible? Okay. So there's a disruptive behavior, and there are options. How do you go about handling them? So you can just write A, B, or C in the chat box so that I can see how many, who all thinks what will be the right way. So for example, very often we come across situations where we have people who come late. So for a late arrival, what is the right way? Remind of ground rules. B, use humor to make point, and bar them from session. What do you say? So a lot of you are saying B. Okay. So all are okay with B. Okay. Dr. Farha says A. Okay. Okay. Dr. Janvi also says A. Zahir says B. Shahrbano says B. So most of you are saying B, except a couple of the participants who are saying A. Okay. Dr. Ravi is also saying A. Now again, it depends. If it's an audience who is junior to you, probably just 1 second. I need to take this call. I'm really sorry. Give me 1 second, please. Sorry, in case if this call comes again, I'll have to take this call. Please pardon me for that. Okay, so most of you are saying either A and B. Now again, it depends. If it's somebody who is probably junior to you, maybe you can just remind them of ground rules. Now, for example, if the audience is senior to you, will you be able to tell them, sir, you are late, you're supposed to be coming on time, how can you be late? And the ground rules are that you're supposed to be on time. So again, it depends. Sometimes you will have to use humor. Sometimes you have to even ignore and forget about that and concentrate on your session. But yes, late arriving is very common, and we know at times it's very disturbing and it upsets you. But again, you have to choose. Sometimes you have to just overlook it. B, talker. There'll be people who talk a lot. A is ignore. B, call on others. C, have them take your place. Write your answer in the chat box. Okay, okay. A, B, A, okay. So most of you are saying A. Okay. Mr. Hashim, I think you wanted to write A. You have written S. Make them share their discussion. Okay. Okay. Padma says C. So C is okay. Padma, if you will have them take your space, take your place, your program is hijacked.
No,
You're
ma'am.
gone.
I just want to explain that. I don't want to ask them to take my place. I just give them a task to perform something or the other way, either question or something.
Yeah.
If they keep on talking, then they start thinking about that particular thing. Then they will concentration will be not on the disturbing mode. That is the way I'm handling the session.
So again, it depends if the audience is somebody junior to you. Maybe you can just look at them and ask them, is this something very interesting? Would you like to share with us?
Yeah.
So that also kind of
Somebody else is
yeah. Yeah.
Smiling and joking.
Yeah.
If you are ready to share with us, we will also ready to laugh like you.
Yeah.
Like that I manage.
Yeah, sure.
Not exactly I ask them to take my place, but I'll
because
make
if
them,
you have them take your place, a lot of time your program is hijacked.
No.
It's,
not exactly because that option is not available here. I mentioned that.
So B is actually more appropriate.
Call on others.
Yeah, call on others is when you actually engage others so that this person who is talking little more than others becomes aware that okay, others also need to have a chance to speak. So you have to very smartly kind of call people by name and ask them to answer rather than allowing this person to continue asking. Okay, Dr. Kapoor has written, I make them feel that their discussion seems very important. Please share for benefit of all. Dr. Kapoor, the problem is they will, if it's a side talk, you're right. If it is a side talk, then you can say this, that is this something very interesting and important that you're sharing. Then you can point out to them. But if they're already talking a lot in general, then if you will say them, share your thoughts and discuss, they're more likely to, take more time than others. And then one will not be able to cover your content. Second, others will also become kind of disinterested and also disengaged, and also their share of learning get impacted. Okay, third one is long-winded. So some people have a habit of giving a very long answers. So what would you do? Interrupt, remind them of ground rules, or counter with own long stories? Okay. Dr. Nair says A, Rashmi ji says B. Okay, A, B. Sharvano says B. Dr. Sudarshan says A. Okay, B. Again, ground rules. We have no ground rules where we tell them that you can't speak for long. It's probably, we think it's understood that you're supposed to be very specific when you're answering and you can't take away a lot of time because others' time is also, So maybe you will have to interrupt, but interrupt very smartly. So the moment they stop to take a breath, you will have to actually take the discussion from them and throw the question to somebody else. So again, you really need to be very smart and handling people, because mostly people have a lot of knowledge to share, but the problem is you will always have very limited time and a lot of content to give. So you cannot afford to let people continue speaking. You will have to interrupt, but very smartly you will have to do that. Okay. Dr. Kapoor says appreciate their experience and cut short. Absolutely. But that cut short will come when you'll get a chance to actually take the rein from their hand and start speaking. Absolutely, I agree. Then there are people who are one-track mind. This is statement number 4. So give them demerits, use peer pressure, and prompt group for other ideas. Absolutely. So what do you say?
See.
Okay. C, I think most of us are on C, and I agree with all of you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Park their ideas. Okay. That's also a good way. We can say we can have a discussion around it, maybe during tea or coffee or break. Absolutely. Park their ideas. Fine. Okay. Next one is non-participating. Again, you will have some participants who will just not open up. So how will you engage them? Use brainstorming, single out, or make an example of them.
Make an example of.
Okay. What do others say?
To make them involved, we have to take them their name or like.
So if you make an example of them, they're going to be kind of singled out again. The moment you will try to name them even as a good example, it's going to go as a wrong example. So I think use brainstorming where you ask everybody to share their ideas, but never ask them to start, because then you are picking a wrong person to as an engine or champion. So ask people to contribute and say, each one of you, please give your thoughts, and then you will see non-participating person also, responding. Okay, sidebar conversation. This is where I think, Dr. Kapoor, where you were saying that we will ask them, is there something important and interesting that you're sharing? Can you share with us? Let us also know. This is where we can use them. But if it is a sidebar conversation, stop group discussion to listen, stand next to talker and reprimand. So what do you say? I think most of you are saying A. I agree with all of you. Absolutely.
Stop.
Yeah. Multitasker. Again, we get a lot of people who would be doing a lot of things on phone. They'll be writing something or messaging. So how do you handle them? Remove offending items, remind of ground rules, and turn over to group. I agree, Dr. Nair, you have to pick your battle. At times, you got to just ignore them. Maybe you can remind them once or twice politely, but if you just focus your energy and time on them, one, you are going to get disturbed because your flow of session will get disrupted. And also at the same time, that person will feel singled out, and also there can be a tug of war kind of a situation between you and that. You can just overlook and continue with the delivery of session, unless it's too many people who are engaged into something like this. Okay, then snide remarks. Okay, Dr. Kapoor has written, involve them more, make them leader of this subgroup. Yes, that's the way you can actually engage them. Thank you. Then next is snide remarks. So again, employ sarcasm, ask them to elaborate, and seek group reaction. What do you say? A, B, or C?
C.
So sometimes even when people give a remark and you know that it's baseless, if you ask them to share more their thoughts about it, they get to realize that they made a baseless remark which had no evidence or which had no ground. That works sometimes, but then again you have to pick your battle. But yes, of course, as some of you have written, seek group reaction. That's a safer choice, because then when everybody will say no to what the person is saying, the person automatically gets null and void. Then cell phone user, I think this is very common situation we all face. So confiscate their phone, remind them of ground rules, and temporarily halt training. What do you say, A, B, or C? I'm waiting for the answers. Zahir says confiscate phone. Zahir, if it is your boss,
I used to do that, man.
you will take away his phone
Yes.
and they won't mind?
Sometimes mind, but most of the time supposed to do that, because boys are most of the time used to use phone. So nothing to do.
See, you can do it with kids, but with the grown-ups, they take it as an offense, and then they kind of take.
Oh, answer usually based on my experiences, because I am very little compared to all of the seniors are here.
So that's
I
what
am
I'm
very
trying to
little.
explain to you, Rehan. If it is a younger age group, even with them, at times, it becomes like a tug of war. It's safer actually to temporary halt the training. That mostly works. If they are on phone and if you stop talking and you say, and they'll suddenly become conscious, okay, everybody's looking at me. Or if you say, it's okay, sir, you can finish, they will become conscious, oh, I'm not behaving right. So they will avoid. Of course, in the beginning, you can also kind of send a message very clearly that I would request each one, keep your phone on the silent mode. And if you need to attend, please go out and attend, but keep it very short and brief. So that, but it has to be a very polite kind of a reminder. We can't be harsh on that. It can actually backfire if you become harsh on them. Okay. Then a dark cloud. Get their input, shift issue back to management and cut them off. Now, who are these dark clouds? Dark clouds are people who are going to, they've come with the idea to hijack your session. They already have this on mind that they want to hijack your session or disrupt your session. So will you get their input, shift issue back to management, or cut them off? Okay. B, C, C, A, C, A, okay, C.
When we appreciate them for their effort, and they will not start again to interrupt us intentionally. If when they are doing when we are address them and we make them clap with others or some kind of thing they should feel, so they will be in control.
So what I normally do, if I can sense that this person is now trying to hijack the session or he has an agenda, he's a hidden agenda, I very politely say, I think your concerns are very genuine, but probably this is not the right platform to address these issues. So I kind of tell them that I'm not the right person to answer these questions because these are your issues with your management. And it will be good if you could, speak to them directly and put across your concerns so that they can address it. And very politely, I tell them, I think I wouldn't be able to handle these questions because they are not this is not the right platform. So very smartly, you have to, kind of put them aside. Otherwise, they can actually continue disrupting you. And then number 11 is confrontational. When they actually come into, confronting you, A is consider removing from session, B is persuasive, and C, report them. Again, how will you handle people who are confrontational?
Be persuasive.
So what do you say? B, C, B, be firm, okay. Be persuasive and be firm, okay. B. So again, I think most of us are agreeing on B, because if you consider removing them from session, it's not just one person, he or she may have more supporters, and then it will be, the whole program will be divided into two groups and it can be very, so again, if the person is confronting you, like Dr. Kapoor said, you can say that, okay, we may have difference of opinion, we may not agree with each other, we can agree to disagree. So even that can be, one of the stand we can say. Again, Dr. Kapoor, if we use peer pressure, I agree that works sometimes, because when you ask others to give their opinion and the others do not agree with this person, usually this person quietens. But it again depends what is the position of that person in the system. Sometimes the person is so highly positioned that peer pressure will not come for. People will not speak for you. They will just be mute spectator of the whole situation. I will share one experience of mine. I had gone to deliver a session in one of the government hospitals. So it was a retired head of the department who was working as a consultant with the hospital. The title of my first slide was Importance of Communication in Healthcare Industry. And this gentleman was a very elderly person. Right in the beginning, when I had not even started my session, he said, how can you call healthcare as industry? Healthcare is not industry. Had I been my previous form, I would have fought tooth and nail to prove to him that yes, we can call it industry. But then I realized I can't let my program go haywire. And there were people who were really, not agreeing with him, but nobody came forward to say, sir, healthcare is now an industry. We are doing this. I acted very smart. I said, sir, you don't agree with this title? He said, no, this is not the right title. I said, thank you so much, sir, for your input. I will definitely reconsider. And I closed it. So you have to be really very smart at picking your battle, because sometimes things can go, they can backfire, and you have to be really very careful. The last one, that is physical threat. Now, in case if somebody is using physical threat, what will you do? Use your training to fight back, attempt to intimidate, or suspend training?
Attempt to intimidate.
Zahir says attempt to intimidate. Zahir, कैसे करोगे? झगड़ा? Tit for tat?
No, ma'am. It's not
No,
like directly.
It's not
but
like that. It's not like directly, yes.
Yeah. No, I wanted to know Rehan's this thing, because he has written B. So I'm surprised. How will Zahir handle? झगड़ा करोगे, लड़ाई करोगे, बहस करोगे?
No.
नहीं कर सकते ना?
It's kind of make them understand the peaceful situation.
No, see, when the person is in mood to physically manhandle you, that means he is not in his senses. His emotional mind has hijacked his rational mind. So the safest way is to suspend the training and say, I'm sorry, I don't find myself safe here. Let's have another lesson and close this session. Never get into physical or verbal fight with such people. So friends, this was just to give you a taste of the facilitation challenges you all can expect to, meet or see when you will be doing your program. I'm sure many of you may be already facing similar situation. And the more you know how to handle, more effective you will be even managing such situations. And the facilitation skill part that we are going to talk, it's, as I said, that you cannot teach anybody anything, especially with the adult audience. You cannot say, okay, I'm here to teach you something. The moment you say that, they'll say, we know more than you. But knowing how can you get an entry into their head and heart, that can help you learn how do you go about facilitation skills. So let me share the screen and show you the presentation. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Okay.
Ma'am, have you ever faced that thing, physical threat?
Not really. Honestly, not really.
When I never faced that, because even in the industry, the trainer means some kind of respect. They are coming to their place to impart some knowledge or skill, right? Most of the cases, it may not be possible, may not be happened.
But you never know. If you are an in-house trainer,
maybe if it is in-house training, if the people already have some grudge about them, in that case, maybe.
Yeah.
External trainers, they don't know anything about it.
But we got to be prepared for the worst. You never know what can happen. So you should know what can be the way to handle that situation. So I'm repeating this often because I believe thoroughly into it, very deeply. I believe in this, that you cannot teach anybody anything, but you can definitely facilitate their learning by making them think. So facilitation is all about a technique where you will help your learners, especially adult learners, educated learners, professionals, to discover, acquire, retain, and apply knowledge and skills. So you can just see how you can make that happen. So facilitator facilitates the learning by arranging the content and delivery in a manner that fosters curiosity, interest, discussion, and reflection. And you can see this happening in most of our sessions where we are trying to, create interest, have discussion, have some question answer. And that's how we all are trying to learn from each other. So at that point, where everybody is in mood to learn, is interested to know, curious to know, that is where the facilitator has to take the opportunity to suggest the information at the right point of time. So whatever you want to say or bring to the, to the awareness of the audience, that's where you can take an opportunity and put across the information or the message that you want to give. So if I may ask you a question, how is adult learning different? Have you ever thought, how is adult learning different? Write your answer in the chat box. Okay, it's two ways. I agree. Yes, learn from experiential teaching. They already have some experience and knowledge, absolutely. Adults already have learned, unlike children. Yes, so that means they already have some, and sometimes that becomes a barrier, because they already know something, so it becomes difficult to make them unlearn. They don't have an empty cup. Absolutely, Padma, I think I agree with you. That's the biggest challenge, because they are already full of knowledge, wisdom, and experience. Dr. Nair says adults are not like kids, hence approach has to be different. Absolutely. So it's a voluntary learning. Yes, only if they are interested, and if you can make them volunteer, they will learn. Absolutely. Adaptability with patterns. Yes, I agree with you. Any other thought that comes to you? So I'm going to use this acronym. Okay. Dr. Sherwana says they know a lot. You try sometimes to make challenges for you. Yes, that's so it's not their fault. If I know something and if you try to tell me something, and if I firmly believe in that, I'll definitely try to tell you that no, my what I know is correct or right. Yes, like Padma has written, they will resist accepting your point of view. Dr. Kapoor has written, make them de-learn, relearn, and by yes. So you have to actually sometimes help them unlearn, but then that unlearning is not easy because they don't want to do it till they agree with us. Absolutely. So adults should learn to unlearn sometimes. Yes, I agree with Dr. Farha also. So let's understand adult learning, and if we use adult as an acronym, you will actually be able to remember what all will work for adults. So let me show you this picture and ask you a question. So what is the difference between awareness versus consciousness? I want somebody who has not spoken a word. I can see some of you have not said anything, and some of you are already into training, so you know about a lot of concepts. So I want somebody who has no idea. What do we mean by awareness versus consciousness? Even if your answer is wrong, it's perfectly all right. The idea is you must open up. What is awareness? And what is consciousness? Okay, awareness is knowing something. I agree, Padma, you're right. And what is consciousness? So using that awareness in your real life situation is consciousness. So for example, I can see some answers. Let me first read them. Awareness is a step ahead of consciousness. Dr. Ravi, consciousness is a step ahead of awareness. Awareness is knowledge that you have. Are we applying that knowledge to our day-to-day life? That is consciousness. So we all know smoking is injurious to health. But what about those people who are into smoking? You think they don't know? They know it. But they still smoke because they know they want to implement that in life. So Dr. Farah says awareness is to have some knowledge, and consciousness is the base of everything. So applying that knowledge to real life is consciousness. Okay. Awareness is like having knowledge about something. Agreed. Consciousness is application of awareness. Absolutely. So consciousness, imbibing something into your normal function. Yes, that means you are going to apply what you know in your day-to-day life. Awareness means to be aware, but consciousness means to use tactics to avoid thread. Okay, we'll come to this. Actively using the awareness into behavior. Consciousness is taking decision while behavior. Absolutely. So this picture that I'm showing you here, a lot of us must have seen every day when we are, driving on the road. We know this. What is this sign, by the way? What is this sign, by the way?
Pedestrian lane.
Pedestal.
Pedestrian, or it could be even a school sometimes. For a school also, they use this kind of sign. So we know there are people walking on the road. That's probably the, broader meaning. How many of us really be careful when we are driving the moment we see this sign on the road? Awareness is, yes, I know there is a school. Yes, I know people are driving. But how many of us be careful when we are driving after seeing this sign? So that means we know something, but how many of us really implement that in our life? So when you will deal with adults, you ask them any question, they will have answer to every question because they know. Yes, death of Cyrus Mistry, absolutely. We all know that we are supposed to be using belt, but how many of us really use it? What a right example you have given, spot on. Thank you. But we know that we need to treat our staff and subordinate with respect. But how many of us actually practically do it genuinely? And especially when we are annoyed, especially when we are angry, especially if something has gone wrong, especially when there's a crisis situation. That is a real test of our temperament. That's where we lose our composure. So awareness is, if you interact with adults, you will see they know everything, but how many of them really applied? That's a question to be asked. The second, the D, adult A and D. D is difference in learning style. Now, if I put this question just to make it simple, if you were going anywhere, how would you prefer to be explained about the direction of the place? Tell me verbally. Please draw the roadmap for me. I would like to draw myself. Okay, if someone sees the GPS and tells me the way, like to see the GPS myself. What is your answer? A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the answer? Okay, like to see the GPS myself. What about others? Okay, 4. It's okay if somebody looks at the GPS and tells me. Okay, 5. Dr. Farah says, please draw the roadmap for me. Okay. Now you can see if it is tell me verbally, that's you are an auditory learner. You're okay with listening. If you want somebody to draw it for you, that means you want to see it. That means you're a visual learner. I like to draw myself. That means you want to do it yourself, kinesthetic learner. Okay, if somebody sees the GPS and tells me the way, again, it's like telling me verbally. And I like to see the GPS myself. That means I'm a visual learner. So each one of us have a different learning style. So when you are interacting with adults, you have to be careful to make sure that you use your content and delivery in such a manner where you can cater to all of them. So some people, they like to see things. If you don't show them, they feel, I didn't see anything, I'm not able to remember anything. Some people are okay with podcast. How many of you enjoy podcast? So you are an auditory learner. That's why you said it's okay if somebody sees the GPS and tells me the way. So you are an auditory learner. And how many of you like to hold the book in your hand and read? They are not okay with the e-book. So those who are not okay with e-book, that means again, they are kinesthetic learner. They want to hold the book. They want to feel the book. I gave you the questionnaire. I sent you a questionnaire. That was to help you, know your learning style. Have you all done it?
Yes.
Anybody who has not done it? Everybody? So did you get an idea about your learning style? Padma, you knew because you know the learning style. What about others? What about others? Could you
Mine is
give
visual, ma'am.
yours visual?
Yeah.
Farha, you could get yours?
Yes, ma'am. Visual learner.
Visual learner. Okay. What about others? Rehan, did you do it? Okay. Janvi says visual learner. What about Rehan and Mr. Hashim?
Visual learner.
Visual learner, mostly visual learner. So therefore, if you see something, you will quickly learn because we are more comfortable with the visual this thing. Dr. Kapoor has written meeting people and knowing them. Again, it's like again seeing people, interacting with them. So each one of us has a different learning style because we interact with the world comfortably with a particular sense. Feeling, yes, Padma, I agree. Feeling, emotions. So each one of us have a different way to interact with the world and also have a different mental representation. If I will ask you about something, you will be able to either see it, feel it, or hear it. So it depends what is your. So Padma, yours is emotional. Yours is emotional. Anybody else who got emotional? Okay, Dr. Ravi have also got emotional. So I hope you got an idea about your, learning style, feeling. Yes, Dr. Kapoor, agree. So similarly, your audience will have a different learning style. So D stands for different learning style. And you have to be mindful of the fact that I have to make sure that my content is so, amalgamation of all the learning styles so that all audience are, catered to them. You, adult you. So they'll unlearn slowly. How many of you still prefer paper book over ebook? Janvi says yes. Okay. What about others?
I like also paper.
You also like, yes. So many of us, even me, even I'm very comfortable to hold the book in my hand, to put a paper, mark in that, to write with pen or underline something that's interesting.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but we know people are now moving to ebook, and it's so very convenient, so very easy. You don't have to carry anything; it's right in your laptop. But then we are taking time to get used to it because we are taking time to unlearn that. Again, how many of us are still using PPT over other pedagogy, even if it seems like an outdated pedagogy? Again, we are using it because it is taking us time to get used to new, ways of presenting. But definitely, I think like we were not used to Zoom. Somebody sent me a video of recording of your interview with somebody. I said, how did you make that happen? You were at a different place. That person was at a different place. That was just beginning of the Zoom. Now see where we are. We are already using Zoom like anything. Again, L, they like to share experience. So if you really want to engage adults, you will have to have time to let them share their experience because they bring to the table a lot of their memories, feelings, ideas, experiences, wisdom. So you have to have that space for them to share their experience if you want to engage them. And then T in adult is they will take time to change. Expecting people to change overnight is something very unrealistic. You will have to give them time. You will have to give them the idea. You will have to give them the opportunity to let go of the old habit because, like we say, old habits die hard. So they will take time to let go of the old habit, and then they will, learn something new. For example, moving from the manual gear to the automatic driving. So I still have that fear that I might press my brake thinking it's accelerator with my left foot because we are used to that old style of driving. So adults take time to change. If you can keep these things in mind, you will actually be able to make sure that you you attend to these things very keenly. For example, be aware, they will know, but we have to ask them questions where they get to know how much of that is being actually applied. They have different learning styles, so we have to make sure that our content is delivered using all possible, audio, visual, and other senses. They unlearn slowly, so we have to have patience to let go of what they have learned. They like to share their experience, so make sure that in the program you have an opportunity where they speak or they share their experience, and then they take time to change. So this acronym of adult should help all of us while planning our program or facilitating a program, how we really integrate this in our session. Now, some more principles of adult learning that will greatly help you in making your program interesting and enjoyable. The first one is adults learn when they are ready to learn. You cannot make them learn. They will have 110 excuses. I'm in hurry, I have some work, I have to go somewhere, or somebody is coming to meet me. So if you want them to sit and learn, then you have to actually make sure that how can you make them learn. That means they need to understand what they learn and why should they learn. I think if you can bring that to their awareness, that why should they be learning and how are they going to be benefited by it. In the last session also, I made a mention, what is in it for me? How am I going to be benefited by learning this? If you are able to bring this, for example, in quality implementation, like when even I go for assessment, I see healthcare workers handling biomedical waste. They don't use proper gear. They don't use heavy duty gloves and shoes and proper protection, self protection, equipment. So that's because they think it's a burden. If you are able to help them see how they are protected and of what are they protected, you will see them quickly adopting to what you say. So once you know why you need to adopt it and how that's going to help you, they are quick to learn. Then adults differ in their learning style. We have discussed this already. They differ from one another in their abilities and background also. So not that if you're taking a session for doctors, so all doctors will be of a same understanding or same background or same experience. They'll all come with different backgrounds and different abilities. Similarly, if you are taking a session for nurses, you will have to remember that they are coming from different backgrounds, different abilities. So you have to remember that and keep the best and the worst, and then plan accordingly. Then adults learn when their experience and knowledge is acknowledged. So you will have to constantly actually let them know that you appreciate their knowledge and their experience, because that's what they are more interested into. And then they learn rapidly when the results are satisfying. So when we are teaching them something or facilitating something, give a simple concept which is easily applicable. You will see when they can see the result, they'll be happy to learn further. And then of course they learn by doing. So doing, like for example, in coming sessions, we are going to do a lot of role plays, a lot of action. So when you do, you get to see, learn more. So make sure that your program has a lot of opportunity to learn by doing, like we call hands-on training. So they are actually able to experience those situations. And then they develop skills by practicing. So a lot of practice is required to actually learning to happen. So that means we have to make sure that we have to first make them understand the purpose of the program. So if you remember, we started this session, facilitation skill. I started with this question, what exactly do we mean by facilitation skill? And where are we are going to use these skills? Because if you thought, I'm not a trainer, I'm not going to be conducting any program, so why should I know facilitation skills? But I made sure that I help you to see that it's not just for the training. Even when you will be engaging your staff in any behavior modification, these skills will help you bringing change in their behavior or their attitude or their awareness. Then we have to engage them, because that's the most important step to make them participate. Otherwise, your program is going to go haywire. Then create a need to learn. If you can create that need, there will be hunger, there will be desire, there will be participation. So somehow you have to bring that in your program. And the climate has to be friendly and informal. to encourage participation. Therefore, it is not a teaching or a training session. It's a facilitation session where you are just throwing ideas, sharing your thoughts, allowing them to give their point of view, accepting some. If you don't accept, you would not, kind of say, no, what you're saying is wrong. You may just politely say, okay, that's one perspective. Let's listen to others and see what do others say. So the session has to, the whole facilitation program has to be, very friendly and informal with your this thing. Then relating and acknowledging their experience make them interested. So we have to bring that often in the discussion. And then trainer needs to be thorough with the subject knowledge and training pedagogies to engage all kinds of learners. Actually, you should know much more than what you are going to deliver in this session. One, because your participants may ask you something, and if you don't know the answer, you would lose ground. So you may not speak everything, but if you have that knowledge, you are prepared to answer their questions or give them satisfactory. So this slide that I'm showing, we have already covered in the last one also, but just to remind you, whenever you are, planning a program, most important thing is to make sure of the physical setup and sitting arrangement. With adults, always have a table and people sitting around table. Because if it's a classroom kind of a thing, it will become more like a teaching section. If it's a set of people sitting around a table, it's more like discussion, facing each other, and then you're also able to interact with some of them at one point of time and some other sit at another point of time. So sitting arrangement preferably for such program should be around the table, 4 or 5 people at a point. Then of course, whiteboard, projector, audio visual, all this we have covered in the last time. I'm not going to, just one second, I think somebody has joined just now. Okay. So these things we have discussed in the last session, so I'm not going to go further. But these resources should be ensured so that you have them readily available when you need to use them. Now coming to the preparation for a program. So when you are preparing for a program, allow 3:1 ratio of preparation. So what exactly we mean by 3:1 ratio of preparation? Can somebody take a chance?
Yes, ma'am. For 1 hour delivery, we have to prepare for 3 hours.
That's
One
only
day.
Yeah, thank you. So that's only if you are already into training. If you're already into training, but if you're not into training, then probably much more than this you will have to invest.
Yes.
But even if you are into training and you have been taking these topics regularly, even today, I think I practice this rule of 3:1. Even if I have taken these topics hundreds of times, I would still go through my slides once again, make some changes, have some examples in mind, take some real life example, take some recent example. So that makes your session more enjoyable. Plus customize it according to your audience. Every time you'll have a different set of audience. So if you know your audience very well, which you have discussed in the last session, it will give you a chance to prepare thoroughly for this session. As I said earlier also, know far more than you will ever use. That's very important. Your thorough subject knowledge will not only give you confidence, but also will give confidence to your audience that you know your subject well. And if you remember last time I said the rule of 10,000 hours. Invest 10,000 hours into anything and you will be master of your subject. Anticipate all activities will take longer than planned. You may plan an activity thinking it's just 5 minutes activity, but you never know, maybe 1 or 2 of the participants may have some questions to ask you, may have some ideas to give you, and then that will take away, instead of 5, that might take away 15 minutes. So please remember, your all activities will take much more than what you think they will take. And this I've experienced personally a lot of time. And I keep learning from this, that you have to really have a lot of, spare time and have some filler in case if you, are completing sooner than expected. Then plan for both smaller and larger than anticipated. Especially if you're going to do a session for somebody outside where you have no idea what will be the kind of audience, how many people will there be actually. So you have to be mentally ready, because sometimes when you are going for a large group and you see less number of people, you get, kind of confused, and also feel suddenly, is my session not interesting? Is my session not important? Why haven't people come? So you have to really kind of, keep uh, that sanity, that it's all right. It's not me. There could be many other reasons why people are not there. Okay, Dr. Ravi has asked 3:1 ratio. So for 1 hour session, Dr. Ravi, approximately 3 hours of preparation should be done, so that you are thorough with your content and flow of your content. Some people I see reading from their slide. I think that's the worst thing. I'm not against using PPT because that keeps you on track, but reading from the slide is probably the worst thing that we can do. But if you have read your PPT thoroughly, there will be content on the PPT, but I'm still sure you will speak much more than what is on the PPT. You may have written just one line, but you have a lot to speak if you have done your preparation. I hope that clarifies. Thank you. So please prepare for both smaller and larger than the anticipated group. Establishing ground rule, I think this is very important and helpful in kind of making people aware that we will go by some rules. It's not like free reign kind of a situation where we can behave the way we like. It's always good to say that, there are some ground rules. Please mind your language, please mind your behavior, please don't use your phone. You can even ask the group to, set their ground rules only if you have a lot of time. For a full day program, for a 3 days program, 2 days program, you can allow the group to set their ground rules. But when you don't have much time, then it is better to, have a slide, maybe technology reminder or ground rules kind of a thing. Dr. Kapoor, you have written PPT only as support to give facts, studies, and absolutely, I agree with you. One should never, never, never read from the PPT. If you are reading from the PPT, I think that itself will make you feel that I'm just reading from the book. It's like having your notes in hand and you're reading. So one should never do that. Okay. Then, as I said, establishing the ground rule is very important right in the beginning, and also in case if you think people are not really seriously following it, you can always politely say that I would request everyone, especially if you are going to a program or a session where people do not know you. So they may just judge you based on the way you will interact. So it's always good in the beginning to be polite but firm, to let them know that there are some plans. And then orient the group, the time frame and purpose of the program, because otherwise what will happen, they may go longer than what is going on. In between, maybe you will have to say that I'm really sorry, we will have to keep this short because I have a lot of content to discuss with you, then you will be missing on the major content. So that's how maybe you'll have to cut them short. How about ice-breaking activities? Yes, we will be discussing this, Dr. Kapoor, in a while when we'll talk about the different beginnings. How do you really make different beginnings? We'll be talking about it. Thank you for reminding. Okay, now coming to the training format. So training format can be, basically it's all about sequence that you're going to talk about. So it could be from simple to complex. We all know that if we will throw a complex idea, it will suddenly kind of, baffle people. But if you start from simple, tell them, what simple things you have to learn, and then you take them to a complex idea, they will learn better. So for example, to talk about disclosure of medical error or breaking bad news, we decided we'll first talk about what exactly is the importance of communication. What is the relevance of communication? Why are we learning this? How are we going to be benefited? So they are all very simple things you already know. So from there, we are building on, and we are going to talk about complex communications in the healthcare delivery system. So if similarly in surgical setup, when you want the person to learn surgery, much before that, they are taught how to suture a clean lacerated wound, so that they learn how to suture. Then if you want to talk about any abstract, concept, it's always good to start from concrete to abstract. For example, when you talk about writing SOPs, I'm sure many of you may be doing in your hospital, SOP comes as a very difficult concept to people. And I see people just copy pasting from other hospitals. Sometimes they forget even to remove the name of the original hospital in the process of copy pasting. So when I talk about SOPs with people and I tell them what SOPs, I usually give a very interesting example, which I'll share with you. I'll ask them, okay, how do you make a cup of tea? So people will normally say, okay, we'll take a saucepan, add this much of water, put it on the burner, and have the burner on. Then after the water starts boiling, add tea, sugar, all that. They'll say. I said, okay, can you write this? Can you write this? They, okay, we can write this. Then I tell them, okay, now you have written an SOP of making a cup of tea. Now, can you write a similar SOP for dressing a wound? Can you write an SOP of sterilizing a particular equipment? So what you are doing, something that they have done, they know. From there, if you take them to something abstract, it's easy for them to comprehend. So whatever you want to tell them, you will have to first give them some concrete example of what they are doing or they already know. And from there, if you take them to unknown, they will do it better. For example, if you want to teach them 7 steps of washing hands, we ask them, how do you wash your hands? They will wash your hands and show you. That means they know the basic washing of hands. And then you tell them what are the 7 steps of washing. And now I know there's a acronym going around and there's a beautiful song also with that. And that's working so well. So the whole idea is people learn faster if we take them from known to unknown, because it's easy for them to comprehend what you are saying. Again, in terms of steps, first of all, tell them what to do and how to do. Then show them how to do. And then let them do. Because if you ask them to do on their own, they will not do. If you just show them how to do and don't tell them, they may not understand exactly. So it's always good to first tell them what to do and show them how to do and then let them do so that they practice. So these are different formats that we can use when we are, trying to inculcate something new to the audience. Now coming to the basic presentation structure, this is where Dr. Puri was saying about the ice breaking. So if I may divide the whole structure into 4 parts, one is the beginning, that is opening, then is the message that you're going to give, and then the evidence to your message, because you are going to, whatever you say, you have to give evidence, otherwise people will not, agree with you or listen to you or may not value what you're saying. And then finally the closing. And as very rightly said by Dr. Kapoor, I think making an impressive opening is the most important task, because if you have been able to make a right beginning, you have already done half the job. So sometimes even like we did puzzle in this session, we used puzzle as the beginning. I gave you a quiz. So when you could use a startling statement. For example, when you start with this, 2/3 of legal suits of medical negligence had communication failure as the root cause of conflict leading to legal suit. So people who have not heard of this or who have no idea about the seriousness of the situation, they are going to be surprised. Is it? Do you really think so? So they are going to get interested. How do you normally use this startling statement as a way to make an impressive? Can you try your hands? Write in the chat box. Try to write in the chat box if any idea comes to you. Any statement that you have used. Or you can unmute in case if writing is very this thing. Any startling statement you have used. Pre-analytic errors are the major part of quality failure. Okay. Go prepared, show them pics. This is the statement you are talking about Dr. Kapoor, or it is okay? You are using pics as a way to start. Okay, I agree. Yeah, I was going to show that in the next slide, but that's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Exactly. So, okay, 1 second. I think somebody has given an answer. Okay. Usually we use thank you for giving your time to us, for yourself to learn. Start with a picture that makes them think. Okay, using picture. Yes, Sharvano, agree. Then Dr. Joshi has written, Cyrus Mistry died because of not wearing of seatbelt. Yes, I think today that's a very hot topic of discussion today. Yes, to use quotes or to tell a story. Absolutely. After that, make them sing a song to soothe their nerves. Okay, used to start with purpose I story. So you are talking about different pedagogies that you're already using. Absolutely, to use quotes or to tell a story. Exactly. So that means you are trying to use different ways to get their interest, to get their attention. Absolutely. So similarly, you can use a quote. Like, for example, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. George Bernard Shaw. Yeah, you want to say something? Yeah.
Once I used one quotation on the first slide. How many of you really want to become rich? If you really want to become rich, you have to attend this session. Actually, they were asked me 4 different topics to deliver on that particular day. One is relationship, another one is image building, and the third one is health and hygienic at workplace, hygienic at workplace, and the communication skills. So I placed in such a way, RICH. So you become rich in 4 areas of your life. Like
Very
that I
good.
start.
Excellent, excellent. So Jahid has written, a proverb goes in Bangla, Pratham, Dor, Shonkari, Pure. But ठीक से बताओ, Zahid, tell us in English so that we understand. Can you?
This
Can
is
you?
actually in Bangla, প্রথমে দর্শন সারি পরে গুণ বিচার।
What is Gumikari? Ghumna?
Gun bichari. That means how much quality you have to deliver in a lecture or something else. People will decide in the first impression.
So this is for the audience.
Yes.
I can help you.
Please.
He's trying to say that it is like that we first see a person, then we go for his qualities.
Oh,
so when
yes.
you start the presentation with a picture or something or a good presentation, after that you can deliver the contents or the
Absolutely
descriptions.
Thank you, Dr. Paramado.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you. So you could also use, kind of an interesting picture. For example, in this picture, can you figure out the number of faces in this picture? Would you like to try your hands? How many faces can you see? What do others say? Chat box में लिख दो. 2, okay. Dr. Farah, there's a young girl and an old lady. Janvi says 3. Janvi, third wala kaun sa hai? Maybe I'm missing. But I remember 3 faces. There were 3 faces. On the cap also there's a face. Even I remember there are 3 faces. So see, everybody will get interested to see how many faces are there. So you can engage them to start with. Yeah. And then we all know when you use compliments, people like it. And if you compliment them for their seriousness, for their effort, for their selection of topic, they like it. And the compliment has to be very, very genuine. It should not be like, fake or just kind of pleasing people. Yeah. Again, something like this where you are going to, talk about some incident that happened that you experienced, or somewhere that you went and you experienced that you are sharing your personal experience. So usually these things engage your audience. When you start something like this, they become interested to listen you, and then of course your duty is now to take them further and actually deliver the content. If you are talking about quality, for example, and if you let them know the indirect cost we pay for not maintaining the cost, because normally people say quality is expensive, but they don't realize the indirect cost we pay for not maintaining the quality. But if you can show them some figures, facts, they will be really, startled, and they will be interested. Now, when it comes to presentation part, that is starting. Now is the real content. You have to remember that your time segment should not be more than 90 minutes at a stretch. Otherwise, it will become too long, and people will become, tired and exhausted and disinterested. So don't test their patience. It's best to, close the session in 90 minutes. Pardon me for keeping it for 2 hours. I know you may be saying you're saying, but you're not practicing. But if I had kept it 90 minutes, I think, we wouldn't have been left with any time to cover the actual content. But otherwise, normally when you have an audience who are not as interested as you all are, who are sitting here, probably holding them for longer than 90 minutes will become difficult for you. So the content rich segment should be early in the session so that it keeps them engaged. Otherwise, if they lose their interest, and at that point, if you try to give the content, they may not capture it enough. Make sure to build activities in each segment.
Can you elaborate, ma'am? Conduct content-rich segment.
So sometimes we have seen people deliver the actual content towards the end, and lot of time they will spend, in something which is not very useful or meaningful. You may have seen people doing a lot of activities, especially when they do physical program. They'll make the team, a lot of activities, but when it comes to actually giving the message of the activity or debriefing, and then what is the takeaway and how to use that learning, there is not any time left to talk about it. So it's always in the beginning, once you have made a beginning, start delivery of the content so that most of the content is covered in the beginning of the session. And don't leave it to the last. In each segment, make sure that you build activities, have a mix of things which to engage them. Include their visuals and hands-on opportunities, because that's what is going to keep them active. And then make sure that you also give an opportunity to kind of revise what has been learned, because otherwise they are likely to forget. As a trainer, you really need to have a lot of enthusiasm, confidence, encouragement, passion for your topic. If you don't have that passion, if you're not interested, if you are not enthusiastic, you're likely to lose your flow in a while, and also your participants in a while. So it's important to keep them engaged. Now, coming to the how do you ensure their participation? As we said, that we're going to make them sit around a table, but very frequently during, especially I'm talking about the physical session, I'm talking about, there are different ways to ensure participation. For example, you can vary their group size. So maybe you can give them an activity where all people sitting across the table will get engaged in that activity. Or you may take actually the complete group and divide them into 2 subgroups, odd and even, or 50-50. Or maybe people sitting across the table, or even sometimes 3 participants or pairs. There are a lot of activities which we are going to talk about in the next sessions, where you will be able to use different kind of group sizes to engage all of them. There's another way to ensure participant, that is vary your approach. So a lot of time asking questions, especially thought-provoking questions, can be a wonderful way to engage your audience. So you will have to use different approaches to keep them, interested and engrossed in this session. Brainstorming is another good way of engaging your audience, because there you are asking them to come up with answers, so they are already on the go. Then sometimes when you ask them to think, write, and share, if you ask them to write a few lines about this, they are made to think, write, and share, and that would add to another. Role plays, we all know we use very often. Activities like quiz, flip chart, reading, demonstration, reports. Again, this will bring in new flavor and new interest in the group. Recognition also has to be varied. So sometimes you can ask the group to clap for the person who has done something really good. Sometimes saying thank you is also a wonderful way, appreciating their participation, contribution, new perspective. So use these ways to, and for whomever you use this, you will see that person actually feels good about the whole thing, because whatever they have contributed, that is being appreciated by one and all. So when you ask them questions, especially like, for example, when I ask you to write in the chat box, I make sure that I read your answers in the chat box. I respond to your answers in the chat box. Similarly, when you ask the question to your audience, even in the physical setup, please make sure that you attend to their answer. One feels very bad if the person is answering and you are not paying attention. And then, of course, you have to not only attend, but also praise them, thank them for their answer. Yes, competition between groups and score them. These are also good ways to create a kind of healthy competition and interest among people. So appreciating whatever they are saying or acknowledging what they are saying keeps them motivated to participate further. There will be, occasions when there will be disagreement, and that's where actually there is a risk for a real problem to happen. And we have seen people, literally getting into argument or taking sides or making two groups, who are pitched against each other. But if you are, if you are able to see the consequences of such, handling, you would never indulge into something like this. So best would be, if you don't agree with somebody, please do not immediately negate. You can actually, you can just say, okay, I think that's good. Let's, okay, kaun banega crorepati? Okay, okay, you have used it already. Wonderful. Quiz, yeah, that's nice. Excellent. So if you don't agree with something, you don't have to always say, no, what you're saying is not okay. Maybe that person has something on his mind, and from that point of view, what he or she is saying could be actually right. So instead of disagreeing completely, you can ask others to give their opinion. A lot of time when others give different opinions, this person whose opinion was actually not appropriate or not correct would automatically get satisfied and have an idea, okay, I was not thinking on the right line. Probably what others are saying, that's making more sense. And then please smartly handle the disagreement by adding correct information while appreciating the attempt to reply. Because otherwise, the person will feel, oh, I'm trying to answer and my answer is not being accepted. Rather than that, you say, I really appreciate that you try to, answer, but this is what exactly it is. So while facilitating, you have to make sure that everyone participates. That's very important. So therefore, it's always good to know your participants' name, especially if you can have a name written on the tag on their left shoulder in capital, which you can see from a distance of, like, from your table and the place where they're sitting. That's a very good way of engaging them. So by calling, if you call them by name, they will stay engaged with you. Keep an eye on the direction of the group. A lot of time the group becomes disinterested, or there can be, some kind of disrest or unrest among the group members. So keep an eye on the direction of the group. Keep an eye on their non-verbals. There can be conflicts, so you have to really be, ready to handle those conflicts, because it could be between them, it could be between you and the audience, but you have to really handle those things very carefully. Pick your battles carefully. A lot of time, not reacting to it is also a good way of not letting it go out of your control. But of course, if the issue is serious and you need to really address it, then you have to address it in a very professional manner. Content has very limited value. I've been saying this. Material you can get on Google, material you can get in books, but experiences have long-lasting impact. So what we have to focus is make sure that we have a lot of experiential learning opportunities. Make them do activities, make them do role plays, make them do discussion. they will always, learn more and remember more. When you are delivering your message, it's very important to consolidate your message with evidence, especially when you are talking about something, which people may not immediately agree. So they are giving facts and figures will kind of consolidate your position and also substantiate what you are saying. So for example, if I'm saying most of the aggressive reactions are an outcome of communication failure, some of you may not agree, but if I give you 4 or 5 studies that say the same thing, it will be easy for each one of us to accept them. So facts, figures, data, these are very good ways to substantiate what you are saying. Even exhibits like newspaper cutting, or for example, picture of a person or a situation. Demonstration, we all know, role plays, skits, videos, illustrations, they all act to support what you are saying. And otherwise your message loses ground. It's important to consolidate your message. Sometimes even testimonials by somebody who is well read, very well positioned, will help you to consolidate your position. The 4th stage is closing part. Like beginning, even closing is very important, because what are the different ways we all close? Would you like to try your hands at it? What are the different ways we all try to use to close the session? Write in the chat box. Normally, how do you close the session? What do you say or write or do or make them do? Okay, quick recap. Okay, summarize with short story. Okay, key points. Okay, very good. Takeaway message. Okay. So normally, if I have time, I always say, okay, each one of you, please give me one takeaway that you're going to take from the session. So that gives you an idea what has been their learning. Yes, take home message from the participants and appreciating them, adding quality issues of that, absolutely. A review from main point, yes, learning outcome. Yes, what is the learning outcome? So there are different ways you can summarize. You can ask them to repeat what they have learned. Okay, tell me what has been your takeaway, or ask them to or either you could speak or you could make them speak. You could also have a summary of it written on the PPT on the last slide. You could also throw a challenge to them and ask them right now, and let's see how you find it. Let's meet in the next session and see what challenges you face doing it. You could also use a quote to close your session. For example, especially when you're opening their mind to learning, and if you say, if learning new ways is boring, try ignorance, and you will know the consequences. So that's what is about the closing of a session. Now, very quickly, what makes a successful facilitator? So what qualities will really, really help you in making yourself as a more impactful facilitator? I think one of the most important qualities that I always say is your enthusiasm, passion, and commitment. Anywhere, if you lack enthusiasm, passion, and commitment to the agenda, your participants can make out. Your audience can immediately make out that what you are teaching or preaching is just, lip service. Yes, Dr. Farah, thank you. Passionate about this subject. Dr. Kapoor says connecting with them, energies. Yes, definitely, because if you are full of energy, they are bound to get affected and impacted by energy. And if you lack energy, your class is going to be equally going to be disinterested. Whenever you will start a session, definitely you know the subject, others do not know. You know what you have prepared, others do not know. They may have 110 reasons not to be there, because they were not wanting to come, they were not interested, they had something very important, or they are tired, they are exhausted, they haven't slept, they are in hurry to go. There can be 110 things. And when you will look at their faces, you will actually be able to sometimes see that they don't seem interested. So you really need to have a lot of patience, especially in the beginning of your session. And there'll be a lot of confusion. Are they liking it? Are they not liking it? Are they with me? Are they interested? But as a facilitator, I think we have to learn to be comfortable while being uncomfortable. I think this is one statement I use very often. Let's learn to be comfortable while being uncomfortable. And if you can cross this ambiguity, trust me, you'll have a better control on this session. But initial few minutes will always be, unless you have met them number of times and they know that you are a good speaker and you are very knowledgeable, then they'll be very keen to learn from you. But usually if you're speaking to them for the first time, then they may take time to develop trust. They may not be interested also, especially till date, I think in our country, trainings have not been able to, make their space in the in industry, especially in healthcare, because we still take it as a burden or as an additional work. We don't take it happily. We don't enjoy doing it happily. Then, of course, every time you'll do a program, there'll be new set of people, there'll be new experiences. So as a facilitator, you really have to be prepared and open to the idea of new experiences and new people. In one place, you might find audience who is very interested. At another place, they may not just participate at all. So if you're affected by it, then your performance is going to get affected. During the session, you may need to bring in change in your topic, in delivery, in the time available, or electricity failure, projector is not working, or whatever. So cognitively, you really need to be flexible and ready to deal with those situations. People who are very rigid in their approach, they find it very hard to deliver successfully unless everything falls in place, unless everything is as per their expectation. But trust me, I think as a trainer, more flexible you are with the resources, with the facilities, more comfortable you will be, more confident you will be in your performance. Then, of course, every time you will meet a new set of audience, there will be different cultural values, different, interpersonal relationship of that place, or dynamics of that place. So one has to be really, sensitive and aware of those interpersonal practices of that place, cultural practices of that place, because that's where you will have to actually be very careful while interacting with your audience, especially if you are meeting them for the first time and you're not much aware of. Yes, language, beliefs, perfectly beliefs, and the hierarchy sometimes also is a challenge. You need to be careful about it. What more do you think you have to, if others may also write, like Dr. Kapoor has written, language and beliefs are usually, so you have to be really careful not to hurt anybody's feelings or values and beliefs. What more can you think of that you need to be sensitive or aware of? Can you think of? Please write in the chat box if you can think of anything. Body language, yes. Absolutely. In some places, even that becomes an deal with respect always. Yes, absolutely. Getting personal. So we have to remember that we have to stay very professional at a workplace. Yeah. Deal with respect. Absolutely. So these are the things you have to always remember, because at times we try to be little more friendly or informal with people. That can backfire. So we have to be, yes, sensitive to the cultural issues, especially in certain cultures. Some things are not appreciated, some behaviors are not appreciated, some languages are not appreciated. So we have to be very mindful of our behavior and conduct with them. Absolutely. Then empathy, I think this is one attribute as a trainer will greatly help us, because people, when they come for some program or for some session, lot of challenges they may be facing in their personal and professional front, but we expect 100% from them while being there. So at times I see some people literally dozing in the class. Not that they are not interested. It could be that they had a very long day. Maybe they had a very hectic day. They were very busy. They were very tired. So if you practice empathy, I think you will not judge them for not behaving the way they are expected to be. Yes, Dr. Kapoor, very right. Thank you so much for saying this. Never share your personal stories and share it as stories as a third about the third person. Yes, of course, we have to be very careful when you are sharing your personal information because that can also misfire sometimes. Absolutely. So honesty is very important. As a trainer, as a teacher, as a facilitator, I think that goes a long, long way. Anywhere if you are faking, it's seen. They may not come up to you and say that I know you're not being honest or you're not being truthful, but they can make out that you're faking and you lose their trust for that. The whole relationship actually gets affected by it. Sense of humility, because there is every day something new to learn, something new to share, and your audience is also going to be, extremely knowledgeable, very well placed, coming with a lot of wisdom. So I think sense of humility, uh, practiced by facilitator, actually gives an edge. Actually, honestly, if you ask me, and genuine humility, not again faking, but genuinely, one has to be. Then sense of humor. We don't have to take everything very seriously. A lot of time, by using safe humor, you can actually prevent a lot of minor problems. You could actually just ignore or laugh away and say it's all right. We all are human beings. There's a scope for error, and you can let go rather than making every issue a big issue or a serious issue. I think one attribute that I would say, constantly sit with yourself and reflect. More aware you will become about your own strengths and weaknesses, more you will be able to make yourself a better version of yourself. Personal awareness is a very important skill which we all, time and again keep practicing and know what my shortcomings are, what my weaknesses are, what my strengths are. Okay, so an interesting activity. I'm going to stop my share here, and we have around 20 minutes time. Okay. Now I want to send one of you to the waiting room. Any volunteer? नहीं, डॉक्टर कपूर को नहीं बनाना, ट्रेनर्स को नहीं बनाना. अच्छा, फरहा को ठीक है. Okay, so Farha, I'm sending you to the waiting room. Any topic that you're really good at. It could be quality, it could be your own subject, something that you normally talk about. Can you think of anything?
About quality.
Quality?
Okay.
Okay, so how about if you want to introduce them to the concept of quality? Is that okay?
Okay.
So I'm putting you to the waiting room and you will, meanwhile, you can make your points, whatever you want to talk about quality. Is that okay? I'll give you 2 minutes time to quietly go to the waiting room and write your notes, and then I'll take you in. Okay, so can I have everybody's camera on? So I feel very bad that I've sent Farha to the waiting room, but I want to introduce you to the concept of disruptive behavior. A lot of time you will have audience who would actually knowingly or unknowingly will disrupt your session. So in this session, Farha will try to speak about quality, but you will have to disrupt her. So maybe one of you will ask a lot of questions. Who volunteers to ask questions? Quickly. Who will ask questions? Janvi, you'll do? It's okay. It's just a learning. It's a learning for all of us. Okay. Janvi will ask a lot of questions. Anybody who will comment, will say what you're saying is not making sense. Dr. Haq, will you do? Dr. Haq, can I request you to do this? Just don't agree. Say, I don't agree with what you're saying. Okay. Okay. And I want one more person to say, why don't you engage so and so, like one of you who is very quiet. So who will say that? Please engage her. You're not involving everybody. You're not you're asking her. Who will do that? Padma, you will do? So Padma will tell for Rashmi ji. ठीक है? कि हमारा रश्मि जी को इन्वॉल्व करिए, आप उनसे कुछ पूछ नहीं रहे हैं, कुछ बता नहीं रहे. It will be just 2 minutes, not more than 2 minutes. So everybody ready? And others can use their phone. Somebody can use their phone. Who will use their phone? रेहान, आप करोगे? रेहान, am I audible to you?
Yes, madam.
Am I pronouncing your name right, Rehan?
Yes, Raihan.
Okay, Rehan.
Raihan.
Raihan. Okay, sorry. So in India we call Rehan. So I'm so sorry. So Raihan, will you do this? You will take a call in between. Start speaking on phone.
Right now?
Not now. Let Farah come in.
Because already my phone is ringing.
Okay, I'm admitting her. Okay, Farah. So are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please
Could
go
you
ahead.
please tell me what I have to do?
So you have to deliver a talk for say 2-3 minutes on quality. So think that we all are here, we are your audience, and you are going to introduce us to the concept of quality.
Okay, I will try my best. I don't know how it will go. I'm Dr. Farah. Today I'm going to deliver some things I want to share with you about quality. So first of all, I want to ask you a question. How many of you want a quality life? Can you raise your hands, please? Is there anyone who doesn't want a quality life? Dr. Ravi, you don't want? You don't want?
Dr. Farah, I'm very happy with my life.
Yes, of course, because I think your life is a quality life. I mean,
Dr. Farah, what type of aspect of quality we are talking? Is it like in our personal life or our work life, or what are you asking about?
Whatever you understand by quality, of course, everyone should want a quality life according to his or her perception.
Yeah, so I just want to understand what aspect are you talking, whether professional or personal?
It is up to individual's choice.
Yeah, I would like to have a good quality.
Everyone wants to have a quality life. So regarding quality, from my perspective, it is actually not my profession, it is my passion. Because when every morning I go to my work and I feel that I am doing something which will give the quality in a patient's life and in their day-to-day diagnostics, then I feel very happy about that I'm providing a good service. So as I'm working in the diagnostics, I can tell something about the quality in the diagnostics. So there are, yes.
You are just like speaking like a flow. You are not involving any audience. We are not students. You just engage us. You just delivering speech.
Yes, I mean, I'm giving you some introduction. Gradually, I will engage you. Don't worry about that. Okay. Padma, do you have some ideas?
Dr. Farah, one question.
Yes.
I would just want to ask, what about, like you said, quality in diagnostics? Can you just elaborate more on what is aspects of quality in healthcare and hospitals? Can you just, before jumping to diagnostic, can you give us an overview of what does quality mean in healthcare?
Okay, there are a lot of things in quality. I can start with diagnostics, then you will get some impacts about that.
If our life is good quality, we will not need diagnostics.
Yes, yes, of course. But sometimes you may need. Then we have to provide you some quality service. So we have to work for that. Okay, I want to give you some little overview of the quality in the diagnostics. So actually, we have 3 phases in the diagnostics. One is pre-analytical. It is when the patient comes to get the service. From there, we get the sample from the patient, and then sample enters into the lab. So up to entering into the lab, we call it pre-analytical. Then when we get the sample, we do
Hello,
test, yes. Please.
Hello, madam. Indu, madam. How are you, madam?
Yes, Johi.
Yes, I am talking to Dr. Indu.
So you want to say something?
Oh, sorry. No, it's okay. It's okay.
I hope he got
There
a
are
call.
some.
Sorry, extremely sorry. Extremely sorry.
I'm sorry for internet.
So, Farah, we were
Yes,
trying
continue.
to see how actually people disturb us. Hai na?
Yes.
But I hope you're not upset.
No, it's fine.
It was just to give you a feel. I'm sorry,
Yes,
you agreed to be the volunteer, so you had to face this.
No.
But this is how
It's good. It's good. I will remember this. Yes.
Actually people do this.
It's
So
an experience.
But you are really doing very well, and you managed very well. Actually, we can clap for you.
For that. Thank you for that.
Well managed.
Yeah, very well managed. But I think everybody got a feel how people knowingly, unknowingly. Now see, you were all asking very, very simple questions. Why quality? What is quality in healthcare? If you're talking about quality in diagnostics, what is quality in healthcare? And then if it was not a seasoned trainer, things will go haywire. So the next topic of discussion is, sorry, you want to say something, Padma?
Unexpected questions always make us disturb.
Absolutely, because it disturbs your flow. And you will never have a notes in your hands. You will always be, just going with the flow. And it really disrupts you. And unless you are really thorough with even this part of handling people, you can get backward. So this was just to give you an idea about how people can disrupt, and you may have done a lot of good preparation, you have gone with your resources, but sometimes audience would just disturb your complete flow and you come back so dissatisfied. I have personally experienced a couple of times. Of course, then I worked on it and I made sure that in future, if something like this happens, how will I learn? How will I manage that? But each one of us should be prepared for something like this. And there will be people in the audience who will sit there with an agenda to disturb you. So the next topic of discussion is managing disruptive behavior. And that's where I thought that let's do an activity and learn a real life situation. So we all know that handling difficult audience is not easy. We can actually categorize them into 3 parts. So one could be the low degree, where you will see people, sitting quietly, daydreaming. They'll be, from their body language, you can make out that they are not interested, they are not attending, they are not participating, they are not actually listening or wanting to, learn anything. You will also see people using their phone, or they may come in and go out, not even seek permission to come or to go out. You really don't know how to, handle those people. Especially in online program, when you ask them to have their camera on, they may just not agree to, or they may have their camera on and again put it off. Again, they'll have it on, again, they'll put it off. And that itself will be a lot of disturbance for you. So all this is more like a low degree, which can be managed. Whereas the moderate degree of disruption is where actually people get into verbal, disagreement, or they indicate distrust in what you are saying. So there's a possibility they may also start doing something which is visible. Either they are making their notes, or they are writing their file, or they are on phone, or they are doing their emailing, or they are on their laptop. which you can make out that they are actually not attending to you and they are busy doing something. You will also see some of them, doing talking with the person who's sitting next to them. So it's more like sidebar conversation. And it's not just once or twice. Once or twice you can actually ignore also, but they'll be constantly throughout the session, will be either commenting on what you are saying or will be sharing their own experience, or they may even be discussing something which is not at all related with what is happening in the classroom, which can be very disturbing to the facilitator. There will be people who are just there to pass comment. Always they'll have something negative or new or different to say, and that will again disrupt your flow of discussion. These were all moderate ones. The high ones can be where actually people become aggressive with you. You can see them, either with you or between them. Sometimes even participants, they will become aggressive with each other. How can you say this? Who are you to say this? You are a boss here. Am I a boss? So you can see that they may become violent and they may actually become aggressive. Some of them may actually dramatically exit out of the training venue. I don't know what I need. This is a useless program. Why am I here? I'm going to go and talk about this. So they may threat you, they may threat others, and they may also pass some, very indecent remarks to others or to you. These are all very high degree kind of disruption. Now, how do you really handle them? Although we have had a long discussion about it, and even in the quiz we discussed. But very quickly, if I may say, all these, mostly which you will come across, can be actually summarized into 4 to 5 kind of, disruptors. The first one is talkative. People who really talk too much and they talk often, or they will talk for very long, and they will actually dominate the discussion. Sometimes you'll have to actually kind of indicate them that this is becoming, out of control and we are not able to continue with the program. So strategy to handle such situation will be, I recognize their contribution, thank them for what they are saying, and then assert that others also must have chance to speak. So sometimes you will have people who are thorough with their work. They're very knowledgeable. But the idea is you're not here for them. You are there for people who do not know this. So for them, probably you'll say, okay, like for example, if I'm taking a class for a very young, student, I'll say, okay, some of my kids know a lot. I don't want those kids to speak. I want those kids to speak for not speaking. So you are appreciating that they know, but then you also want them to remember that you want others to speak. So recognize what they're contributing, and also then say, okay, now let me ask those who are not saying anything. I want to know what do you think. So you are changing the direction of the discussion to them. Then sometimes you can, target your questions to the other participant by name. Okay, Farha, what do you think about it? So that means now Farha has to answer. Or Padma, what do you think about it? So Padma has to answer. Even in the live class, when you are doing an on-site program, as I said, it's always good to have the name tag on their left shoulder. Because the moment you'll be able to see their name, you can call them by name and you can send, throw the question to them. So automatically it will get, the questions will go to all corners of the room. Then when you are asking a question, avoid making an eye contact with the talker. A person who is speaking a lot, avoid making an eye contact with that person, so that even if that person wants to say, or that person raises the hand, I mean, since you have not looked at that person, you are not, you don't have to ask that person to speak. So you can look at another direction and ask somebody else to answer this. And then in case if they are talking a lot, the moment they pause in between, immediately thank them and take the call to another person to come, so that you don't kind of stop them, but then you move the direction of the discussion. The second type of disruption, you will say interrupters. They want to agree or disagree or make another point. You will always see, not that they will always disagree, but they'll have a point to make. So they will again be kind of interrupting the session. Strategy that will help you is, early in this session, tell participants to note all their comments and questions, especially if there are a lot of questions people are asking. You can say that I think it's okay if you note down your questions, and we can take it in the end. And especially in the physical program, in case if you think a lot of questions are coming and that are not kind of
আমার কাছে নিয়ে আসো 50% টাকা নাও, ওটা আমার কাছে পাঠিয়ে দিও।
Give me one second.
পরে আমার কাছ থেকে ডিসকাউন্ট করে নি, এখন 50% দিয়ে ছেড়ে দাও।
Okay. So right in the beginning, actually, you can tell that we will take all the questions, question answer at the end, so that you save on time. Then keep participants engaged by asking them to complete, and you can also engage them into some activity. So interrupters will have less time to ask you questions or interrupt you because they are physically engaged in an activity. And if you can write an outline on the flip chart or on the whiteboard that this is what we are going to do, so people will have an idea, okay, there's a lot to be covered. So when they will know there is a lot to be covered, they will remember, okay, I don't have to I can't afford to take a lot of time, especially if you tell them, see, we have covered just 2 points and we have 8 more points to cover, and we just have 30 minutes left. So it's kind of a reminder to them that they will have to really, control themselves. And then of course, you can take their questions at the end, or even during tea and coffee, you can take them. Engage them into some activity. For example, take them as not as a co-trainer, but as a co-trainer in the subgroup, like Dr. Kapoor was saying. So you are channelizing their energy into something meaningful. Then there are people who are chatterer, who would just be engaging into, side conversation, or, saying something which is it's not audible, but then it is disturbing you. So they will mostly be talking to person sitting left or right to them. Strategy that will work here is that invite the chatterer to share their, conversation with the group. What are you talking? Is there something interesting? Would you like to share with us? When you will say this a couple of times, they'll get an idea that we are disturbing the program and disturbing others also. Sometimes even when you stop talking and look at them, they also become quiet. They get to know, okay, we have become center of attraction. So it's something like, when you put light on them, and they get to become conscious of what they are doing. And sometimes you can restate the point that you are discussing and then ask them for their opinion. So what do you think? So mostly they must have not even heard what you have said. So they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get you. They'll say, okay, I'm asking you this. What do you think about it? And then you engage them into discussion. So besides these chatterer ones, you'll also find arguers who are there just to argue. Maybe they are very expert in their subject. They actually know something, really, really well about that. But they may not have the right way of expressing their opinion. And it may come out as an argument. They may actually don't mind even telling what you're saying is not okay, and this is what is. So this is a very kind of a difficult situation. I have seen people literally crying in this session. I've seen teachers crying in this session when students or their participants, argue with the facilitator or with the teacher. But I'm like, seasoned people are able to manage, but a lot of time, people who are still in the beginning of their career, they get majorly affected by it. So the best way that we work here is you can acknowledge them and thank them for their contribution. And even sometimes, saying this, we can agree to disagree. Or maybe I think this discussion we can have later on, and let's
A small.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we are thanking them and contributing them, they will make more and more. They want to establish themselves among the other participants. They will do more such type of things. I address it sometime like that.
So see, acknowledging is important. Otherwise, it will appear that you are also on the other side of the tug of war. So acknowledging will kind of soften that person. That's a technique you are using to soften that person. And maybe if it's going beyond this thing, saying this, I completely understand that you have a point to make, but if we will discuss on this point for longer than required, then probably we will not be able to cover the rest of the content. So we can agree to disagree on this, or we can leave it to the audience to decide what they want to agree with. Can we move on? So you can assert your position as a trainer because you are there for a task. You are there to deliver something. But getting into direct argument is not going to help, because that's going to further, escalate the issue. That confrontation should always be, avoided. So when you thank them, but at the same time, now you take your attention to the other side of the audience, you don't look at them, you don't make eye contact, So automatically, slowly, they'll get subdued. So you'll have to use multiple techniques to handle these people. And then in case if there's a merit in their comment, express that you agree, and then you move on without giving them more chance to speak on it or argue on it. And then sometimes also paraphrasing what they have said and asking others to, first of all, asking them to explain what exactly they want to say. And sometimes asking others to comment also helps to kind of quieten them, because when others do not agree with them, then they may not be happy, but then they have no way to continue arguing with you, because they can see others stand in your support. This is again one situation you will see a lot of time, silent type, where people will become, they'll just not speak up, they will not kind of, open. It could be because they are shy, it could be the insecurity, indifference, uncertainty, language can be a problem. There could be any reason. I think one thing we have to remember, we don't have to put them under spotlight. That's not a good idea. So if you really want to engage them, best would be if you ask them questions which are easy to answer, so that it builds their confidence to speak. Also, if you ask a question and ask everybody to give a point, something like brainstorming, but never start from them. So because if you start from them, you will get stuck, the person will get stuck. But if 3-4 people have already answered, and if you ask now this person to speak, so what do you say? So by this person has heard others, will have some idea what am I supposed to be speaking, and may have something to say also. But don't insist on making them speak, because then you are, focusing your energy and time on a person that's going to kind of disrupt your flow of session. And if they speak, if they answer, if they contribute, appreciate them, and encourage them to speak further. The last one, that is electronic device enthusiast. A lot of people will be using phone, or they'll be on laptop. That's quite disturbing. Again, I think as we discussed in the first quiz, how do you handle them? If they're juniors, if they're younger, maybe you can say that, can I request all of you to put your phone on silent mode and leave your phone? But with seniors, probably you will not be able to say something. But of course, in a very polite way, you can say, I think a lot of you are using phone, in case if that's how you want to, work. Mind cannot process 2 things at a time. Either you can use phone or you can listen to what we're doing. So can I request you to, kind of leave your phone aside and get into discussion. Much more than that, engage them, ask them questions, make them speak. That will kind of make them leave their phone, because they are in a way under a spotlight. They are under spotlight, so they'll become conscious that everybody is looking at them. So sometimes setting clear expectations, especially if they're younger and junior to you. Engaging them, as I said, if you can engage them by asking a lot of questions, that will help them, leave their phone. And then if it is too much and person is not ready to change, ignore and move on. Don't waste your time and energy on them, because that's not going to really help you. So quickly to summarize, I think one thing we have to remember in any program, please don't take your audience behavior personally. If they are not attending, that does not mean that you are not a good trainer. If they are bent on not listening to you, doesn't mean that your program is not good. So don't take things personally. There could be 110 reasons. If a person hasn't slept, if a person is tired and the person sleeps in the class, not that the class is boring. You are forgetting that out of 40, 38 are, or 39 are up and engaged, and if one person is sleeping, must be there is problem with that person. So avoid arguments, because that won't take you anywhere, and also I think it creates a lot of displeasure and disharmony when you get into argument. Empathy, as we have discussed earlier also, and learn and search for a grain of truth. A lot of time there are reasons why people behave the way they behave. Once you'll get to know, probably you'll be less, upset about it. So this is in nutshell about facilitation skills. I know it's already 4 minutes past 10. So very quickly, if I may ask you, what different pedagogies we used. If you write in the chat box, even that's good enough as a takeaway. So what different pedagogies I use, if you can write in the chat box. Okay. Role play. Okay, role play. PPT. Okay. Role play. Puzzle in the beginning. Quiz. Using pictures like how many faces. Okay. Pictorial. Yes. Questionnaire. Yes. Which I sent you much in advance. Interactive discussion. See, so many you have been able to identify. So I'm going to share, I'll take another minute before we close today. Give me a second, I think that slide is open. So I'm going to share a list of pedagogies with all of you, and you will have to write your name. Where are we? There we are. Yeah. So this is the assignment we are going to work on. From session 5 onwards, we will do presentation by the participants. I'll be sharing the link of this page. You will be able to read everything from it. You will have to choose one topic of your choice and write your name in front of the. So this is the list. These are the different pedagogies I'm talking about. It could be storytelling, giving demo, experience sharing, speed meeting, reflective questioning, handling difficult audience, using or anything that is new. Like for example, I remember Dr. Webby talked about Mentimeter. So we will request her to present on Mentimeter. So these are the topics, and these are your names with the session number from who will be presenting from session 5 onwards. And you will write, copy paste the topic here in front of your name. Okay. Also, you will get 10 minutes time to present. But before that, you will have to share your presentation with me and speak to me over phone so that we can discuss your presentation and also how you're going to do it. The whole idea is you will have to actually give a demo of the pedagogy that you choose. And then 5 minutes you'll spend about discussing about the pedagogy. Like for example, name and introduction of the pedagogy, advantages and disadvantages, do's and don'ts, and where all it can be used. So just prepare a small 4 to 5 slides presentation, not a very long one, just 4 to 5 slides presentation. And before you present, discuss with me. So I'll be sharing this link with you and also the feedback form. In case if you have any pedagogy that's not listed here, you can tell me and I can add that in the list, and then you can pick up the pedagogy and you can make it. Any questions about it?
Ma'am, can you give an example? Like, I think from session 5, it's my name I saw.
Okay, for example, you pick up storytelling as a way. So you will actually give a short demo of storytelling. So you will give us a story, and each story that we share has a message to give. So you will
tell a story.
You will tell a story, something that we have not heard of. So naturally, if you will share that story, we all will get interested and we would like to know what exactly you are trying to say. So you will share a story, and then maybe you will ask a couple of questions, or maybe you will explain us what is the message that you want to give to that story. And then you will make a small 4 to 5 slide presentation where you will be telling about how to use storytelling in any training program. What are the do's and don'ts and advantages and disadvantages of storytelling? Just 5 minutes, that's all. If you will do this Google search, you'll get a lot of material on it. And in case, if you have any challenge, you can connect to me to understand that, okay, I'm interested in taking this pedagogy, but what do I do? And then I'll explain to you that this is what you are supposed to do.
So the story will be on a subject.
Anything. See, for example, you want to talk about leadership and you tell us a story. And then you explain us, okay, this was a story about leadership and I wanted you to the concept of leadership. And then either you ask a couple of questions or you just say something. And then you say storytelling is a very interesting way of giving a message. Then what are the advantages? It's easy, interesting, everybody gets engrossed and they are curious to know what is the message. So it's easy to get everybody's attention. And storytelling actually is a very old but still liked way of creating interest and curiosity. So advantage, do's and don'ts, that it should not be very long, it should not be boring, it should not be, so these are do's and don'ts. Some same way you can pick up anything. There is a list of almost 20 pedagogies and you can even add anything that you wish you want to present. And
Okay.
just 10 minutes. So from next session onwards, I'll try to keep my session for 1 hour, 30 minutes. And last 30 minutes, we'll try to reserve for 3 presentations. Since we are 16 of you, then we have to cover at least 3 pedagogies in one session. I can see some of the messages. We have to choose topic as, yeah, the same, that pedagogy is a topic, Padma. That's a topic. I'll share with you, you can have a look. So I think I'll close it here. It's already 10 past 10. I'll not hold you further. Feedback form I'll share in the group, but I am sorry, I am not receiving enough feedback responses from all of you. Almost like 7-8 people are responding every time. I would still request all of you to take out time and complete the feedback form. It just takes 2 minutes. So do we close it? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
Right now.